Welcome everyone. Akasha here, Nan Akasha, with my good friend, mentor, and master astrologer, Donna Stellhorn. Hi, Donna.
Hello.
And we're bringing you the spiritual weather report this week because Donna's the expert. And there's in a particular topic that we want to talk about that's been happening for a little while. It's Jupiter and Gemini. But first, I want to share a little bit about Donna so you know where to find her. And we can, oops, let's see here somewhere. There we go. And I highly recommend you do find her. So make sure that you check out, you subscribe to the channel, you get notifications because then you'll know when we do go live. And I do a lot of lives. And also because we have a playlist here, so you can check out the playlist below. We have one for spiritual weather reports. That's specifically what's happening with the energies and intuitively, how can you understand the moods you're having, the things that are happening, how can you plan your start of your events like I do with Donna, when you have surgery, when you do important things, aligning with the cosmic energies. So we're going to talk about Jupiter in Gemini in a minute, but first I want to just share a little bit about Donna. If you're familiar with my show, you know that she's been a regular guest, and we're really, really blessed to have somebody with this kind of wisdom and knowledge. And my favorite thing about it is that Donna's not just one of these astrologers who spits out a lot of math and a lot of technical language that you don't understand. She's really practical, and she's been a spiritual teacher, and I don't know what, all kinds of things for many, many years. So the interpretation that she gives things is really helpful. So as an astrologer, a feng shui expert, she's written, I don't know what that says there, 20 books, and including Feng Shui Form and Sage and Smudge. And you can check her out weekly on her YouTube channel and on astrology.com and horoscope.com. And also, if you go to her website, which is right down here, donnastellhorn.com, you can find her video courses, including finding the hidden money in your chart. If you're interested in learning how to read the tarot in a very simple, easy, fun way, that's a really fun one. And she works mostly in predictive Western astrology, seeing clients all the time, believe me. And I highly recommend you get a session. I know several of my clients have gone really happy with it. I work with Donna to learn astrology as well as for important things like birthdays. And she's on the board of NCGR, whatever that means, something to do with that. And when she's terrified, she does stand-up comedy, which I think every time I see that, I'm always delighted by that idea. And she's living in Oceanside, California. You can also check out her YouTube channel right there. So, okay, welcome, Donna.
Hello.
So I know that you're having beautiful weather in beautiful Southern California,
Of
and
course. That's what we're known for.
right.
So, yeah.
Yep, I lived there
Yeah.
twice.
Yeah.
So let's dive into Jupiter and Gemini and why it's rare. I know it's been about 12 years since this has been in this particular configuration. And what are the energies that are really important for us to take advantage of as well as be careful about?
So, well, Jupiter is the largest planet of the solar system. So it represents expansion and going bigger on something. When we think about the origins of astrology and how astrology has been used through, past generations, we often associate Greek and Roman mythology with astrology and talk about, the different names and all of that. And so Jupiter is related to Zeus, the king of the gods, right? So the energy is benefic. It's positive, but it is sometimes positive to an excess. And so we want to capitalize on the positive parts of this without going overboard, if that's at all possible. So Jupiter has a 12-year cycle, and it's a little bit more regular than some of the other planets. Of course, Jupiter does go retrograde. It goes retrograde once during each sign, and so that we have a period where it is going backwards, and I'll give you some dates in a second. But the interesting part is that because it's there for about a year in a sign, it gives us a full year to work on some aspect of our life. And once it's gone, we don't have that luck there again for 12 years. And so we do want to pay attention to it. So on May 25th, a few weeks ago, Jupiter went into Gemini, and it's going to be there until June 9 of 2025. So we have just a little bit more than a year. So it's going to go retrograde in October, on October 9, and it will stay retrograde until February 4, 2025. The interesting thing about Jupiter also is when it goes retrograde, it'll go retrograde at a certain degree. It will go back 10 degrees and then go forward again. So it's going to go retrograde at 21 degrees of Gemini. It'll go back to 11, and then it'll turn direct, and it will then move forward again. So again, it has a sort of orderliness to it that we like, that this says, okay, we can kind of look at Jupiter and say, oh yeah, I've got kind of an idea of what's happening. So, when you are thinking about your chart, you want to look at where Jupiter would be in relation to, say, your sun or your moon or your rising. And so Jupiter is going to, for Aries people, Jupiter is going to have kind of this third house sort of energy about it, which is going to mean that you are thinking more about transportation and communication and how you think about things in the world. You might do more dancing. You might do more hand-eye coordinating activities. You might be juggling more, knitting more, working on your knife throwing, stuff like that. So, and then Jupiter, because it expands things, might expand the interaction you have with your siblings and cousins and your neighbors. And at that point, you may look around and say, oh, I really want a bigger vehicle. I want something that I can get around in and, go to Costco and get that giant, thing of toilet paper and put it into the car and drive home. So I know that's very American of me to say. So.
No, I live in Mexico. I go to Costco. I buy the giant toilet paper too. Absolutely.
Well, it's
Toilet
funny
paper,
because
paper towels, and tissue. Yeah.
yeah, when I was in Iceland, they have a Costco, but
Yeah.
none of the cars were big enough to fit the
No kidding.
giant thing of
Yeah,
toilet
right.
paper. So
Absolutely.
yeah. So so
So if Jupiter expands, and we'll talk about like more of the energies of what Gemini means. So
mhm,
people who aren't Gemini, it still affects us because it's in that sign, it's in that house. And I'd like for you to
correct.
explain how that relationship is. Actually explain that, like when a planet is in a particular, how do you put that? Who's that? Someone's the actor and someone's the
Correct. So the planet itself is the one that does anything. And so this is what we call the actor. The script that it's reading is the sign. So we can place an actor in different types of situations by giving them a different script. And so to use the classic example, Arnold Schwarzenegger is Arnold Schwarzenegger, whether he's reading the Terminator script versus the kindergarten cop script.
right. Yeah.
But the different signs, like it's easier possibly for him to be the Terminator versus kindergarten cop. So sometimes we find that the planet is in a sign that it just works. And when Jupiter's in Gemini, it does, it just works for it. It just feels comfortable because, as I was saying, Jupiter is about, or sorry, Gemini is about communication and thinking process, and Jupiter just wants to do a lot of that.
Mm.
The
Yeah.
the issue, I think, is where we go to excess,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I always think, because I'm a Sagittarius is my sun sign and Jupiter is my planet. And it's, so I always think, yeah, and I know that tendency to like more, like more,
Yeah,
more, more of something. And what do you really want more of? Like, to be careful. Do you want more trauma? Do you want more, bullying? Do you want more, struggles with finances, or do you want more of something else? And so
right.
being careful with the energy versus just thinking, oh, goody, let's expand everything.
Exactly, exactly. So when you look at your chart, you look for where Jupiter is natally, and you're also going to look at where that Gemini energy is, because that's where Jupiter is passing through right now. And you say, could I go overboard in this area? I think it's so interesting that I was just listening to an author named Cal Newport. I don't know if you've heard of him, but he wrote a book on slow productivity, and he's written a
Oh,
lot of
yes.
stuff
Chris
about
rates him.
digital minimalism and stuff like that. And so he was equating, looking at TikTok or Twitter as kind of like a mental junk food, which is
Uh-huh.
so perfect for this idea of Jupiter being in Gemini, where we may go overboard and consume too much content that has been highly processed and highly, altered to just
Manipulated.
catch our attention
Yeah.
versus sitting down and trying to wade through a book, which is, like Jupiter and Gemini doesn't want to do that. It wants to, scroll and click and scroll and click and so much. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and that's a whole other story, right? The social media disease. Um, well, and so tell it let's just describe a little bit more about Gemini. I know enough about Gemini because it's my complement, what do you call it? Complementary? It's my opposite sign
Yes.
to Sagittarius. And my best friend in college was a Gemini. And what I know about her, she's very social, very friendly, very happy, very outgoing. And it's, it's got those aspects, but there's the twins.
There is this idea that there is two parts of everything, that you could go in different directions. If you're split in two, you can basically get two things done at once. So of course, Gemini, actually, if you are a Gemini, you have a better chance of actually multitasking than any of the rest of us. So, because you are able to, switch back and forth so quickly from, one thought to another, one emotion to another, and so forth. But there is also the side of Gemini, which could be the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde sort of energy of, yes, you may have a twin, but is it an evil twin, right? So is there the Dorito eating, TikTok, scrolling part of you that is taking you off in a different direction that you won't, that you know, you don't want to go. And Jupiter then just comes and expands that. So if we have bad communication habits or collecting of information, if we're already bad about that, Jupiter can exacerbate that.
Hmm. Yeah.
And on the plus side, Jupiter is about knowledge and philosophy and it's really a spiritual connection. And so we could overexpand that. And how wonderful would that be?
Yeah, exactly. I was just going to say, because Jupiter also has like an energy of good fortune.
Yes, good fortune. And so from the positive, it is about stumbling onto the treasure and finding something that is really valuable and having that extra luck to pull you out of danger. But then the downside of that is you lean on the luck too much and you only
Mm.
make just enough. You only, like, oh, hey, I found a little bit of treasure, and then you never look for another treasure. So the Jupiter is, they talk about benefics and malefics in astrology, and it's really that Jupiter and Saturn are in between. They both have so many positives and negatives to them,
Ah.
that they're basically kind of the business planets, like there's
The
some good stuff,
business.
there's some bad stuff here.
I love
So
it. So a benefic is beneficial, right? A
correct,
malefic is not so great. And
correct.
yet, and yet you're saying that these both have enough of both of those that even though it's really considered a beneficial planet or the
Yes,
energies that
like it we often say that automatically that Saturn is malefic and Jupiter is benefic, but there is a downside of excess and for the Jupiter side. And so we do have to be careful not to just classify it as, hey, good stuff's going to happen. So
yeah.
because oftentimes when we see Jupiter, say, prominent in a chart, the person gets rescued, but they needed rescuing. So therefore, they had something not good happen.
Right. So it's the rescuer was wonderful, but what did you do in excess? Ignore the potential problem or not prepare for the hurricane or something
Right,
before
right.
that in order to need the rescuing. Mm.
Oftentimes, when I find Jupiter in the second house natally, and that would be in the house of money, I the people tend to live paycheck to paycheck because they are too lucky. And so they
Mm.
come to the end of the month, they're $20 short of rent, and they reach in their pocket and, oh, there's a $20. I've made it. And so that sense of I'm just going to get rescued over and over stops them from going out and activating the Jupiter and making the ton of money that they could be making.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are the best benefits of the year that we're in of things that people could look at drawing on this energy of Jupiter and Gemini?
That there are now unlimited connections you can make. You could make more friends than ever before. You could have better relationships with your neighbors and with close family members, that you have access to all information. Like if you have a question, if there's something you want to learn, there is a free video out there. Some generous person has, figured out how to do this and has made a video about it. That means anything that you want to learn is available to you. And with Jupiter and Gemini, we have a desire to learn things.
Mm.
So, and the same goes with there's now unlimited activities. I mean, a few years ago, of course, we're locked down, we are restricted from these things. And now, though all of that stuff's coming back, and so we have all of these different things to do, lists and lists of, do you want to take classes? Do you want to go socialize? All of this. So we have all of this stuff going on. It's, like it's a paradise, right?
Nice.
So, and yet, are we just binging on the junk food of information? Are we going to the same old places, or are we not even leaving the house?
Right, because the opportunity doesn't call you up, knock on your door, come onto the couch and sit there. Right? It's there. I know that this is the dragon year and it's a lot of opportunity. It's not necessarily all right for you, but there's lots of it. And still something has to happen in order for you to access that opportunity, right? You have to hear it, see it, go find it, intersect somehow with it.
It is if everything is super easy all the time, then when something gets a little bit hard, we think maybe it's not correct, or maybe that's not the right direction, or, oh my gosh, I'm so busy. I have a billion things I could do. Why do I want to stop and learn this one thing?
Yeah.
And I often run into people, especially in the area of technology, where they say, well, I don't know how to do this and all that. And there's a 1 minute video out there. All you have to do is search for it, and you can find this 1 minute video on how to do this. And I get pushback of, yeah, but oof, a minute? Like,
A minute.
you
Oh, I
know,
have to spend a whole minute. Yeah.
great.
Yeah, I understand that, and yet I have certain things I will watch hours of, or listen or read hours of,
Mhm.
and some things I'll be like, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know about
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
But 6 minutes,
yeah.
okay, 5 minutes.
So Jupiter, because it's about something that's large too can make certain things feel overwhelming.
Mm.
So, such as things going on in the world, which, you know, with the things like going on in your area with the weather, now there is all of these different channels that you can listen to and the different perspectives and all of this predictions and analysis and all of that, that you get this tidal wave, sorry for that, tidal wave of information, and it can be just overwhelming.
Yeah.
And at that point, then you say, okay, like now I'm drenched in this. I can't handle anything else. And so then it's off to TikTok or, you know.
Yeah, some kind of relief, non-thinking
Yeah.
aspect of it too. So that's a really good point. I like that. To pay attention for the next year to really see where you might be overwhelmed and
Yes. And how
especially
you are
mentally
overwhelming yourself
overwhelming yourself.
by your choices, and
Ah,
not because Jupiter is not Saturn. Saturn is the limits that you put on things, and we balk against the limits of things. So, and there will be a point, and I didn't write it down, where we are going to get a square between Jupiter and Saturn.
mm.
And so then we have these two kind of duking it out, and Jupiter saying more, 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 and Saturn goes, hey, little moderation, please.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's interesting because we do kind of think of Saturn as always being the party pooper, like, no,
correct.
you can't do it. No, you're not ready. Check it again. Wait until it's better. Make it, learn more. And that's pretty good. I mean, with my Jupiter Sagittarius personality, I never wanted a schedule. Really like to just be in the flow. And
Mm,
I had a coach many, many years ago who he really had to wrestle me, so to speak, to use a calendar. And he
mhm.
forced me over, and he would refuse to move on until I started putting everything on my Google Calendar. And I mean everything. Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to take a break for 10 minutes, put it on your calendar. And I'm like, oh, please, come on. Oh, please. Oh, please. And I
Mhm.
still do that today. And
Yes.
I had to be one of those people who said some structure is really helpful.
Yes, some structure is really helpful. And so we if you already tend towards Jupiter energy, which is you have strong Jupiter in your chart, you have strong Sagittarius in your chart, your tendency is to go overboard anyway. And therefore, this Jupiter in Gemini, you could just be awash in so many things to do and so much information and so many people to talk to. And your lifeline would be do more Saturn, but you have to consciously do it.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So Gemini is an air sign. And in a lot of my training outside of astrology, air signs are mental,
Correct.
so it's a lot of that. Give us a little bit more about how that would work other than the overwhelm.
Well, the interesting thing is if we look at the tarot cards, right, the four different suits are the four elements, and swords are air. And if you are familiar with the tarot, you know that it's funny that the most negative cards tend towards the swords,
Oh, really?
because the with our mind we can go positive or we can go negative.
Yeah.
And that's what we have to watch out for, because Jupiter just facilitates and says more. If you are going to live in the nightmare, you can have really big nightmares.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But you could also go to the positive and find the good things out of, like what's uh, it's so obvious that, to me at least, that we live in such a golden age of information and opportunities, and especially for us in first world countries, of abundance. And yet we're so fearful because
Mhm.
we are adopting other people's nightmares that are just coming in at such a rapid pace. And
Yeah.
so Jupiter and Gemini just expands all of that.
Mm. Yeah. And that's really important to be careful. I mean, I think that discernment is more important than anything right now in
Mhm.
terms of what you consume. You know,
Mhm.
I've talked about that forever. What are you consuming? Of course, eat good food. However, I'm talking about, what are you feeding your mind?
Yes.
Who are you talking to? Who are you being around? Are you in a
Mhm.
negative environment? Are you in a negative relationship? Are you consuming the news or these other
Yeah. Yeah.
sources? Because when I first got online almost 20 years ago, nobody really knew how to do internet marketing. And I
Right.
was with all the earlier internet marketers who we were all trying to figure it out.
Mhm.
And everybody said, it's all about the information. People want information. Oh my gosh, we have to give them information. And it was so funny to think about all those early days of coming up with courses and details and 50,000 bonuses and all this information. And now it's like there's so much information
Correct.
that if you're not discerning, one, you're overwhelmed, and two, you're confused.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so true. So the when you look at your own chart and you find the Gemini house, then you can say, okay, now Jupiter is going through this area, and it is going to be about the information and the activities and all of that, but it will also expand what's in that house. You were talking about the people you hang out with, and there used to be this idea that that was really popular, that you are the sum of the 5 people you hang out with the most.
Yeah,
Well,
especially with
yeah,
money. That was a big thing in business. You know,
yes,
if the
yeah,
5 people you hang out with are millionaires, then you're going to be a millionaire.
right. But what if the 5 people you're hanging out with are all online? What if they're all influencers? I mean, then what is, is that benefiting you, or is it someone just giving you the news in the most negative light possible?
Yeah. Cool. And
Yeah,
sensationalistic, right? A lot of what people want is clickbait, we call it, right? It's
right.
like, are you saying something like, I don't watch the news, but I remember in the olden days, the ad would come on for the news, you
Mhm.
know, news at 11 or whatever, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
it would say something like ridiculous, like, will your children die by breathing air?
Yes.
News at 11, you know?
Yeah,
And it's
yeah.
just like that exaggerated because everybody wants you to come to their thing. So how dramatic and how exaggerated and how traumatic and how ridiculous can you make something seem? And everybody's already in adrenal fatigue. So
Well, and we've done this with information. This is akin to the overprocessed foods. That's that Cal Newport was talking about, was, like, we like strawberries, and so people said, yeah, we do like strawberries. Oh, we'd like them even better if they're on a cake with whipped cream. So we had strawberry shortcake, but we've keep processing it, and now it's like a Jolly Rancher, right?
yeah.
And so we've gone from content that is useful to a Jolly Rancher of content.
Yeah.
So we have to watch out for that. So there has to be, yes, you have unlimited access now to people and information and all of that, but what is it that you're consuming?
Yeah. Well, take the last couple minutes that we have to just talk a little bit about the retrograde of when this is going to be in retrograde. It's not for a few months now.
Hmm.
However, how do those energies of retrograde affect everything we've just talked about?
Well, to give you a visual about retrograde, it is kind of like you're driving through town and you're saying, oh, yeah, that restaurant, I want to stop there. And oh, that shop is open, but I don't have time now. And you keep going and you get to the end of town and you go, I really need to go back. And so you turn the car around. And so now you're driving back to go and do something or connect with someone or, get some content that you hadn't gotten before. And so this is where you start to say, oh, yes, I now am going to go to that restaurant. Now I am going to go talk to that person. But you're trying to do that while the part of you is thinking, I'm supposed to be moving forward. That's why retrogrades get so difficult. But it
Mm.
is a time for us to stop and say, what did I miss? Well, what do I still need to do? And so the plus about this retrograde is that we will get to go back and start to discern, is this good content? Is this healthy? So if you're listening to this and you're saying, oh yeah, I'm probably doing a little too much Instagram, how do I get that to stop? it may take you to the retrograde to say, oh yeah, that does have to stop.
Mhm. Yeah,
So,
and we said that's October till February. Yeah.
yep, October 9 to February 4
Okay.
is Jupiter retrograde. And, you know, well, that is where we get to, look at something again. The plus side is wherever it is in your chart, now you get extra time in that area. So if it is going through your house of money, which would be your second house, your eighth house, or even your 11th house, then you have more time to collect more money. You do have more time to spend more money. I do want to point that out, but yes. And so, or if it's going through your fourth house, then you have more time with family, more time at home, or fifth house, more time with children and in more interactions with children. So it does produce some luck in certain areas that can be very beneficial, like seventh house or first house. Those areas can help you meet new people. If you're looking for a love relationship, if you're looking to collaborate with someone in business, that's very good. It's quite protective in the area of health, and that would be first house, sixth house, eighth house, and 12th house. If it's going through one of those houses, well, it won't keep you from having an illness. It will bring you the doctor who has the solution, or it will bring you the information that solves the problem.
Oh.
So and if Jupiter is going through your 12th house, this expands your connection with your guardian angel, your guides, and you get more of that, like if you're heading the wrong direction, you get yanked out of it. So, yeah.
Yay for those
Yeah.
guardians, guardian dragons and guardian angels. All right. Okay, let's not go that way. Yeah.
Yes,
Had lots of
exactly.
those.
Exactly.
Oh,
Yes.
good.
So Jupiter is really helpful. And I know that we spend a lot of time talking about, here's the downside of Jupiter. So I don't want to say that it's not wonderful. It is. It's just they like there was an old line from I think Buffy the Vampire Slayer that no problem can't be solved with or there's no problem in the world that can't be solved with chocolate. And then her friend says, oh, my stomach hurts. And she says, okay, there's that one.
There's
Right.
that problem. Yeah.
So this is watch out for the excess and you'll do fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. I love having this information. And it is really a great idea when you think about planning ahead, of course, for the year, travel or business or jobs or anything else that you're doing. And then day to day to look at the different aspects. We're going to have a second Capricorn full moon this month. There's a
Yes.
lot of different things to consider, but then there's these bigger, longer term energies or weather that we're in that you can always take a look at. And I like that idea of really watching for overwhelm, excess, especially in the mental field because of the Gemini.
Yeah.
And then that also means that you can expand your solutions, your
You
problem
are.
solving.
And that, to be aware that we live in this world of unlimited information, instructions, and guidance. How great is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. YouTube has become amazing. I don't use it to scroll all the little crazy stuff, but to, like you said, I'd be like, I want to know how to make this, some cooking dish or something. And
That,
you
yep.
can look up
Eh,
on there and find 5 different people who are
How
going to
do I
talk
do this
about it.
little thing on Photoshop?
Yeah.
Like how do I rehem jeans? Like it's so amazing that somebody out there has been generous enough to make a whole instructional video on that.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's a remarkable world.
It is. And
Yeah.
I also want to remind everyone that you have something of value, right? Whoever you are, whatever you do, you don't have to be a teacher or a healer or Donna in order to share information, to share what you do. So I like the idea of thinking about how could you expand the good you do in the world, whether it's just your kindness, whether it's the energy that you radiate every day, that you get yourself aligned before you go out into the day, whether it's how you speak to people and how you see things. Can you be the one to expand someone else's positive view on life? Because we all need that right now for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. That's wonderful. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you so much, my dear. Appreciate it always. And thank you, everyone. Please watch for other goodies coming up and have a wonderful and beautiful, blessed day. Bye-bye.
Bye.